point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Ron Lyons Real Estate Show. In this episode, we're going to talk about greed. And I have to start off by saying that as much as I like Michael Douglas, and as much as I like the movie Wall Street, that statement from that scene couldn't possibly be more wrong. But unfortunately, right now in real estate, greed couldn't possibly be more evident.
You're on the burger business. You're in the real estate business. You're in the real estate business.
The only thing we have to fear is fear.
Please fasten your seatbelts.
All right, guys, like I said, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Ron Lyons Real Estate Show. And we are actually recording live today. We're going to be on our YouTube channel. So for those of you watching this episode instead of just listening to it, thank you so much for that. We are known on the Amazon Alexa devices as the Texas Real Estate Show. And we are the Ron Lyons Real Estate Show on everything else like Spotify and just about anything else, Audible, anywhere else that you can listen, iTunes, that sort of thing. So check us out. There's lots and lots of good episodes, but today we're talking about greed. And let me tell you, in this market, and this is a seller's market, so that means that everything is geared right now towards the seller's favor. It has brought out so much greed. It's just absolutely sickening. And I understand that in all cases you want to try and make as much money as possible, but there's some limits to that. And those limits are kind of undefined for a lot of people. It's almost like a lot of sellers don't have a moral compass on what a limit should be. And so what they do is they hear these stories about these houses that are selling for so much money, and they think, okay, if my neighbor got an additional $5,000 over asking, let's go for 10 or let's go for 15. And I've seen lots of cases where the ask is actually around $100,000 more than what the market should technically be paying for, any particular home. So it's absolutely out of control, and it's sad to see that. And at the same time, there's not a whole lot that you can do about it as a real estate professional like myself, other than turn down the listing. Sure, somebody else is going to pick it up, but you know what? I don't have to have my name attached to that. I feel like that it is in everyone's best interest to be good people above everything else. So sure, you're trying to sell your house, and certainly you want as much money as you can get, but I think you still have to work within the confines of what's fair and what's right. I mean, even a boxing match, you're in a boxing match and your goal is to literally beat the other opponent, right? Literally with your fist. But there's still limits. There's certain things that you just can't do. Unfortunately, in real estate right now, some of those limits seem to be invisible to a lot of people. Another thing that I'm seeing is sellers who basically make their home unavailable to a large portion of the buyers out there. And what I mean is this. I ran across a property the other day where they had the property listed. It was some raw land, and there was a value placed on it of so much per acre, and it was overpriced. I had some buyers, and it was still within their price range. But here's what the sellers did that expresses just an inordinate amount of greed. They had actually placed a stipulation on this sale that there had to be a 100% appraisal waiver done for this property. So what that means is that if the property didn't appraise, there was no way to walk the deal basically based on the inability to get a loan for the property. So I know that's a lot of technical talk, but basically what's happening is the sellers are setting a price above market, and they're saying that if you don't have the cash to bridge the difference between whatever this property appraises for and what we're actually asking for it, then you can't do an offer. You can't chase this property. You can't participate in this particular deal. And if that doesn't just express greed to the highest level, then I don't know what does. It's bad enough that the property was already overpriced. But then whenever you come in and you add this requirement that the buyers agree up front to an appraisal waiver, a 100% appraisal waiver, well, that just kind of solidifies the greed factor for me. So, that being said, it's just going to be a matter of time, I think, before we start to see this change, and it's going to be really interesting. The market is so imbalanced right now. It's a great time to sell. It's a terrible time if you're a buyer, unless you have an agent or a realtor who actually knows how to get in there and find you the deals that may be off market, or knows how to negotiate and get you something that's clearly properly priced, that sort of thing. So while I'm not saying that you should stay out of the market completely if you're a buyer, I am saying that I understand the challenges and the things that might make you maybe a little more leery about actually getting into the market. So it will balance out in time. And one thing that I believe above everything else is that there's a thing called karma. And I do believe that karma is that B word. I do believe that a lot of these very, very greedy people are going to have it all come back to them in some way at some point. It may not be where you or I see it, but it's going to come back. And I wouldn't want to be in their shoes when it does. So let me say this. If you're considering selling your home or some land or something like that, think about what's right. Think about what's fair. Think about what's ethical. There, you can go for broke, and I'm a big fan and a champion of getting a lot of money for a property, but I'm not a fan of stealing from people or forcing their hand in a situation into something that's very inappropriately priced. It's just, none of that's right. I don't feel good about it. I don't see how anybody else can feel good about it. It's something that I don't want to participate in. So the world itself, especially now, is already so full of problems. It just doesn't make sense to me that somebody would want to go out there and make things harder for someone else. So, you know, if you've got a listing, or if you're considering selling and you decide you want to basically go and try and, you know, rip everyone off by putting the price super high, nobody's going to be able to really stop you. I'm not going to represent you, and I don't think that any very good, well-intentioned real estate agent or realtor is going to represent you, but, you know, that's your prerogative. You've got to watch out, though, for that thing that keeps coming back around on the backside of all that stuff. And like I said, that's karma, because it's going to be ugly and bad. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to touch bases with you real quick and talk to you a little bit about greed, because I am seeing it so much in this market, and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed. In my opinion, you should never be one of those people. Don't be greedy. Get a good, healthy price for your listing, but don't go out there and hurt people. Don't go out there and try and rip people off. That's it's not the way it's supposed to be. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I really appreciate if you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you so very much for that. And if you're listening to us on the regular podcast, thank you for that. And I can tell you this, we're going to be doing so many more podcasts. The podcast is taking off like crazy. It's doing super well right now. And I am blessed enough to be on this side of that microphone and to be able to express my opinions just like today about greed with you, the listener. And I'm very thankful for that. So guys, until next time, God bless. And I'll see you on the next episode.